Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Programming with a Purpose. In this video, I'm going to update the UI of my Pomodoro app. I'm going to add a tabbed view to it. Also, I am going to add a settings screen to it so that we will be able to change the settings and the duration values. So let's see how it's done. So here I'm going to show you some of the assets that I've added inside my assets folder. So there are some button icons as well as a custom color red that I have added to my assets. So you can see here I am commenting out the content view in the Pomodoro app file, and here I am going to replace it with a tab view. So it will contain two views. First one is a content view which will show us the timer, the focus timer, and I have added .tab item with the label timer to it and a system image with clock.fill. After that, I'm going to add another view which will be the settings view, but since we haven't created the settings view at this point, so I'm going to just add my content view here with a tab item with label as settings and a system image as gear. After that, I basically want to make it similar to the other pages, so I have created an accent color to it which will be red, and basically the icon in the text will appear in this custom red color that I've added to my assets previously. Also, I'm going to add here a state variable which will be an object of our settings class. So here you can see that I'm making a small change in my content view where I have changed the @state macro to @binding. And here I'm changing the Pomodoro app file where I have passed that variable settings object to my variable settings as a binding variable with the $sign. So once we have made this binding variable change, when you are going to move to the content view, you will observe an error, and if you are going to build the UI inside the canvas, it is also going to produce some errors. This is due to the reason that we cannot view the app inside the preview as we cannot pass the settings variable there. So there are two approaches to fixing this error. Either we can create another view that can be used as a stubbed view to provide the values to the preview, or on the other hand, we can revert back all the changes that we have made. We can comment out those changes, update basically the UI according to the canvas, and once we are done with our UI building, we can then uncomment these changes and move with our binding variable approach. So I am going to follow this approach. So here you can see that I've added a variable with the name of color stroke which will be set as the default value, which is green. After that, I am going to update the line width on line number 30 to basically decrease the line width that is at the bottom of this blue circle. Basically, I want to copy this app, the UI of this app, so you can see that the background circle is very thin and the top one is also quite thin. So I am going to make the changes according to this view. Also, I am going to make the font a bit thinner. That will look more professional and more user friendly. So here I'm going to change the color to my base color or my default color, which is the variable color stroke. So here I'm changing the upper circle which will be visible as the progress. So I have removed basically the line width variable and changed it to style, which is basically a stroke style with the line width of 15, which is much thinner as compared to the previous one, and a line cap that will show the boundaries as rounded. So here I'm going to change a value inside the progress so you can see that how it would look like when the progress is 50%. So it looks quite nice. I have moved the value back to 1, and now I am going to update the font as I have told you previously that we are going to update the font by changing its size as well as its thickness. So I have previously shown you that I've added some of the assets to update the UI of the button. So here I am adding the name of all of those assets inside the respective buttons, and I am going to update their frame width and height as well. So copy all these steps. Here I am updating the spacing between the buttons as they look quite closer to each other, so I have added a spacing value of 30 between these buttons. So here in the different functions like in reset and play button tapped functions, I am adding the color stroke so that I'll be able to change the progress bar color according to basically which part of the session I am in. If it's break, it is going to be red. If it's in the focus session, it is going to be green. This is just to distinguish between these two phases. So add all of these coding changes. To make your app more lively, you need to add certain animations. So the shortest way is basically to load a GIF file. So when I tried to do it, I came to know that Swift does not support any GIF file loading or displaying inside the normal Swift classes. So we need to basically extend our functionality with a struct GIFView, which will extend UI view representable. And here we are going to import another file with the name of WebKit, which is a framework to support loading of content from online websites. So I'm going to create a variable with the name of URL string and a function make UI view, which will return us some UI view, and it is going to create an object of WK web view, which is going to be returned, and in another function we are going to update this view by loading the content inside that view. So here you can see that there we will observe some errors and how we are going to fix it to make our GIF view work. So now moving back to my content view, after fixing all of these errors, I am going to basically comment out the header text that I've added because it seems quite useless. You can also add menu buttons or other sort of shortcut functionality to improve your UI on the top as well. So here I'm adding a GIF view that I have created previously. I am going to copy and paste a link here inside the URL string. I'm also going to post it in the description box at the bottom, and then it is going to be ignoring all the edges. So you can see that how it is going to look when we are going to switch the V stack to Z stack. So it is looking quite nice, but another problem is basically you can see here is that all of our buttons and the text has moved inside this circle. So we are going to add another V stack inside this Z stack. So I'm going to copy paste the next button tabbed here at the bottom of the text. That is going to show the count of the sessions, and you can see that I am going to basically create a red button with the rounded corners, and it is going to show the text as add a text. Its functionality is still not done, but will be done in some other path. So just add this button in the UI here. So add some padding at the side of the button to make it more presentable. So let's create another view with the name of settings view by right clicking on our project Pomodor, and here we are going to add some of the variables, which will be state variables of course, because we are going to update their values with the slider. So here I am creating a variable with the name of focus time, which is of type double, and the default value of 25 is set because our focus time is 25 minutes by default. Then another variable with the name of break time is set with the value of 5, and then we are going to create another variable with the name of either sessions or rounds that will depict the total sessions that we are going to take. After that, I am going to create another variable with the name of settings, which will be basically an object to our settings class. We are going to use it to update our values inside our settings class that will be then shown on our timer tab. So let's create the var body sum view inside our settings view. So the first step is the creation of a text that will display what this content is about. So basically our first slider is basically a work duration, and a value is shown on the right side. So both of these are nested inside an 8 stack, and some padding is added. After that, we are going to add a slider that is going to display 5 to 60 between values inside this object focus time, and then an accent color and a padding is set. All of this is then nested inside a v stack, and we are going to replicate it twice so that we will get our 3 UI elements. One is for work time, another is for break duration, and the third one is basically for the rounds and sessions. So once we are done adding these UI elements, I am going to create two buttons at the bottom that will be again a part of an H stack nested inside this V stack. So the first button will be reset defaults and the other button will be basically art with the text OK. Reset defaults will be with the color red and the other one is with the green color. So I have set the frame padding and a background to it. So these buttons will then be added inside the V stack so that they are all aligned properly. After that, we are going to write two functions. First is basically the update values, which will update the values when the OK button is pressed according to the slider values. The other function is basically the reset defaults, which is going to then reset our UI values on our screen. You can see that I have copied the init function and pasted it inside my class settings, and here I'm going to pass it some of the values so we can create a custom basically initializer to our class settings. So we are going to pass it the break time, the focus time and the rounds. So the focus time and the break time will be passed inside the timing struct for this focus and break t objects, and after that the total sessions are set by multiplying the rounds by 2. There is a little ambiguity here. I have set basically the sessions as a multiplier of 2, but we do not need to set it because each session already contained two parts, a focus part and a break part. I got a bit confused here, so I've multiplied it by 2, but you can simply leave it as is. So next we are going to update the function body of the update values, and here we are going to pass the break time, focus time and rounds and create an object of settings here. So when we are going to basically display it inside the timer, the updated values will be shown. So you can see that here we are adding basically the call to both of these functions, reset defaults and update values, inside the buttons that we have created previously inside the UI. Here you can see that I am basically uncommenting the lines that I have previously commented so that we can pass the binding variable to it, and we will be able to view the tabbed view and the value changes of settings inside our main tab in the timer tab. So here you have seen that I have added a dot on a pair function. This is basically due to this reason that if we are going to switch the tab, like I move from the timer tab to the settings tab, the timer should be paused at that value and I can resume it whenever I move back to that tab. So for that purpose, I have enabled is timer paused variable to true, and then I'm going to make all the changes that I made inside the play button tabbed functionality, and otherwise it is going to just basically show us the default values for the timer or the updated values of the timer according to the settings that we have made inside the settings tab. So we are going to build the app and play it inside the simulator, so you can see that how the UI will look like now, and we are going to fix all of the little problems that we see during our run. So you can see that the color stroke values are working properly. Break is displayed as a red rounded progress bar, and the focus time is displayed as a green rounded progress bar. And when the value is decreased, it is beyond a certain point, you will see that the gray area will start to become visible. All of the button and their states are working properly. Now if we move to the settings tab, you can see that the content view is being displayed. This is due to the reason that we haven't made the change inside the Pomodor app tab number 2. So I'm going to update that, and you can see that there is a little glitch here. There are two setting tabs that are appearing at the bottom. It means that the setting view is returning us 2 views. This is due to the reason that the H stack is not nested inside the V stack properly. So we are going to move it inside one of the brackets. And after that, we are going to play the app again. And you can see that the settings tab is now displayed as a singular tab. Now there you can see that we are going to play that tab. When we are going to move to settings and then back, you can see that the time is stopped there. So here I'm going to change some of the values inside the settings tab, and I'm going to press the reset defaults button, and all the values will move back to their default. And when I'm going to make these changes, press the OK button and then move to the timer tab. You will see that the values are updated inside our main tab. So here the timer is stopped, but when I move it to my next round, you can see that the 9 minutes break is shown, which I've updated inside the settings tab. So it means that the value are being passed on properly. There is another issue in the UI of basically the settings tab, that the buttons are on the left side. They are not aligned in the center. For that reason, we are going to create another V-stack on the top of all of this content, so that the align leading constraint that we have added on the top of the V-stack is not going to affect these buttons. So there will be a without constraints V-stack that will be added on the top of the V-stack that we are previously using. And now you can play the app and you will see that the buttons are now centered properly. So we have made all of the UI changes that we wanted to make inside our Pomodoro app. So this is all for this tutorial. I hope you have enjoyed watching it and you have learned something from it. Do not forget to like and share this video. Comment if you find anything that is not that clear in the video, or you want me to create some other interesting features inside this app in my future parts. Do not forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.